Welcome, it's denome. You don't want to get your crypto stolen or hacked or anything like that. You want to keep your crypto safe, right? In this video, we're going to cover all the basic things that you have to have in place in order to safeguard your crypto. And this is going to be like a basic information, so I'm not going to go into the most advanced strategies. So everybody should be able to apply these strategies to keep your cryptos a little bit safer, as well as keep yourself a little bit safer online in overall. So let's just get started with the risks, because there are many risks out there, and here are some of the risks. So you can lose your crypto to theft, that you lose access, maybe you lose your phone or your computer breaks and you didn't have a backup or something like that is missing. You forget your cryptos, you can get scammed, you can be a victim of a phishing attack, there can be a hack or an error in the code that makes the value of your crypto to zero. So many things that can happen, and that's why you want to manage your risks. And here's just some ideas how you can manage your risks. Let's start with the most basic ones. So the first basic one is your email, because email is usually the one thing that connects to everything. If they have access to your email, they can reset the password and get a new password. So you want to keep your email as secure as possible. And with email, you want to have a very, very, very strong password. You want to have the strongest password possible on your email, because this is the most vulnerable place. If a person who has a malintent has access to your email, you have to keep it safe. And that's why I recommend you having a public email as well as a private email address. This is especially important for people who are public figures. Like for me, if you want to contact me through email, I have a public email available online, but I will not show my private email address, which I have connected to different services, or I may have multiple email addresses, but just to keep everything safe. So even if you participate in any giveaway or anything, newsletter or anything, you always want to give your public email address, never your private. So on your private email address, you want to connect it to exchanges, to lending services, or whatever service that can hold your money. You don't want to give your public email for those services. And you always want to keep the private email as safe as possible. So if a person with malintent has access to your public email address, it's still pretty much okay, because they cannot access the funds. So that's the most important thing. And then always, whenever you receive email, there are these phishing attempts. So many senders, they can send a message to you in the name of Crypto.com, but the sender email address may not be Crypto.com. And even if it is Crypto.com, it can still be sent via Crypto.com gateways, or I don't know what they call it. But anyway, check the email address as well as check the content. And if you see a link there, always make sure that you are actually in the right service. Because on Binance, for example, there was an attack not too long ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, that people received an email, and when they clicked to sign up, you gave your email address and your password to Binance, but the website was not Binance. It was like Binance or something like that. So people gave their passwords to the people with malintent, and 15 minutes later they lost access to all their funds. So always be careful of using your email. And one thing you want to enable is a two-step verification. At least on Google and Gmail, you can set this up. And if you do that, if a person tries to connect to this service and you haven't approved that device before, your phone will get a notification saying like, do you want to accept this person to use this service? So you can still block it even if they have your password to the email address. So always enable a two-step verification. And this is especially true for people who are influencers, like people who have had like a 50,000 follower YouTube channels. This is the place where they usually lose their money, is because they didn't have a two-step verification process. Second, you want to have the two-factor authentication service, and you can use the Google Authenticator for that. But here are two ones which may be a little bit better. So Twilio Authy as well as Aegis, I don't know how to say it. but these ones will allow you to have like a temporary password that resets every 30 seconds. And when it resets every 30 seconds, it's very, very hard to actually guess it right. So it's like a 6 numbers and it resets every 6 seconds. And you want to have a two-factor authentication for everything. And you want to keep backups of these services, because when you log into a service, if you use the Google Authenticator and you lose your phone, there's no way to recover that. But these two, they have like a master password or something like that, and you can make a backup of your services. So in the case of your phone losing, if you are using the Google Authenticator, you can actually lose access to all these different services. And this is especially very important on no KYC exchanges, where you cannot basically get back your account without if you have KYC verification, then it's possible to get back your account. But if you never signed up using KYC, then it's very, very hard or impossible to get it back. So that's why it's good to have some authenticator that can allow backups. And also an idea is, whenever you sign up using a service and then you enable the two-factor authentication, is maybe to have a second phone that you use the two-factor authentication. So maybe your second phone never connects to internet, but you have the phone, all the passwords are on that phone, and you just use that to authenticate, because the two-factor authentication doesn't require access to internet. So you may want to use a second phone for that. And then password manager. This is one I suggest. There's a risk here that this can be a single point of failure. So this is not everybody recommends this, but for the most people, this one is actually quite useful, because you can have a strong individual password for each website. And here are a few good ones. One is LastPass and one is KeePass. KeePass is a little bit more complicated, a little bit more advanced. LastPass is for most people, and there's like inheritance services and stuff like that. Links are, by the way, in the description if you want to log into any of these services. But these ones are pretty good ones. And when you open an account here, you want to have, again, a very strong password that can access to your all your basically passwords. And you want to keep the master password as safe as possible. So never put it anywhere online. And if they have access to your master password, then they have access to all the services online. But here are a few good ones that help you. Like if an exchange or a service is hacked, where you had a password and you use that password somewhere else, that means that if that one place gets hacked, then your password is broadcasted to everywhere. That's why it's very good to have individual password for each website. And again, for LastPass, there's two-factor authentication. You can enable it, but it is not enabled by default. So for example, many people don't have this enabled. So check it out if you have this enabled or not, but it is very important that you actually enable it. So you don't lose the access. Hackers cannot get access to your master password as easily. And then some common mistakes. So one most common mistake I see is when people join Telegram groups, you can get messages from scammers that appear to be admins or influencers. So yesterday or the day before, there was one person in my Telegram group. We already have almost 1,000 people there, and somebody got an instant message pretending to be denome, and they asked like they can help them with MetaMask, some transaction fee costs or something like that, and the person sent them a one ETH, and because of that, immediately after he sent the 1 ETH, he deleted every message and changed his name and blocked the user. So there's basically after that nothing you can do anymore. And of course I would never do that, but always on Telegram, make sure you are actually talking to the right person. And you can easily check it if you just open that person's profile, and you can see the username, because the username is unique. You can only have one of the same username in the world. So always check the profile if they are actually real or not, and usually you don't want to send any money to anybody on Telegram. But this is the most common mistake I see. Somebody lost $40,000 in one link group that somebody told me about. So be very careful for this, and never ever share any passwords, any private details, private keys. Yeah, that's the number one. And then saving passwords online. This is a big mistake. People sometimes save the passwords on like notes or something like that, on email, or they send passwords in instant messaging apps. This is not good. And also, if you lose your phone, you have to think about right now what is on your phone that if you lose that is very, very bad. So you can back up your phone, or you can have a duplicate information of that on somewhere or another phone or something like that. So maybe have two phones, or maybe not. Just consider that if you lose your phone, is everything safe? So that's just a reminder there. And forgetting you have money, this one is a big one, and this has happened to me sometimes, and nowadays I no longer do that. So I of course keep track of where my money is, what exchanges I have, everything like that is in a safe place. So be careful to not forget you have money somewhere. And then some people, they only have a few services out there. So if you only have a few services and one of them gets hacked or something happens for that service, then you lose basically half of your cryptos. So that's why I recommend to have many accounts, many services, many wallets. So that's another common mistake. And now let's talk about exchanges and lending services. So you want to have multiple accounts all over the place, so you have access to more trading pairs, as well as you are spreading your risks across the different platforms. But the bad side of this is that there are some tax implications, but I'm not going to cover them in this video. I covered them in a previous video. You can watch that one. But basically, I want to have many services, so there's not one single point of failure in my system. So here are some top exchanges that I use. I use Binance and KuCoin. Those are my favorite ones. And for you US users, Kraken is probably one of the best ones that you can open. If you have Coinbase, I would not recommend using Coinbase because they sell your information to governments, and they are. I wouldn't use Coinbase, but Kraken is like a good one in US as well. And then local exchanges, I use them to withdraw fiat. So if I want to withdraw fiat, I use local exchanges, but I personally don't do trading on local exchanges unless I see some arbitrage opportunity between a local exchange and like a big exchange, because most liquidity, most money, most volume is on big exchanges. So if you're using a local exchange, there may not be enough liquidity, not enough volume, so you can lose money in slippage. So that's why I use local exchanges mostly for only to withdraw fiat. And here are some top lending platforms as well. So Celsius Network is my number one go-to place. Crypto.com is a good one. BlockFi would be another good one. And on Celsius Network, you can earn up to 22.4% interest on your coins. Crypto.com, I think the highest one is 18%, unless you use the min-max strategy, which I've covered in the past as well. You can make a little bit more on that. And all these, I have affiliate links too. And if you want to get some extra bonus or extra money, you can use those links to open up these accounts. So it helps you, it helps me. And then hardware wallets and software wallets. So a hardware wallet would be like a complete own device that has access to your private keys. You don't actually store the money physically there, but it is safe in the in this wallet, so that if you connect it to the computer, it basically allows the computer to use your private keys to make transactions possible. But if you are not connected to anything, then people don't have access to your private funds. So that's basically how hardware wallets work. And software wallets is just like an application on your phone or your computer. And hardware wallets, I would use them for long-term storage. So a good one is Ledger and Trezor. And I have an affiliate link with Ledger, so if you want to get that one, I have a Ledger Nano X, not what is it, Ledger? I don't even know if it's called Nano X or what is it called, but I have that one, and I think it's a good one. So for long-term storage, Ledger and Trezor, those are the good ones. And software wallets I would use for interacting. So MetaMask is a good one, Atomic Wallet is a good one, Trust Wallet is a good one, and Argent Wallet is a good one. There are other good ones as well, but here are just some that I use that I think are good. And for hardware wallets like Ledger, you can connect that also for interacting, but I would use two hardware wallets in that situation. One for completely cold storage that you never connect to the internet with, and one for connecting to the internet. So if you want to use hardware wallet with DeFi services, that's how I would do it. And then let's talk about DeFi. So you have Uniswap, Compound, Token Sets, Aave, Curve, Balancer, so many other DeFi platforms out there that are built on smart contracts. But smart contracts, they can be hacked, there can be a malfunction, there can be a bug, or something can happen. So that's why DeFi is a little bit wild west right now, because a lot of the code is not audited. There are many updates, so there can be bugs involved in the future. So it's still growing. So when you are using DeFi, I would suggest that you use multiple wallets. So you can use a hardware wallet as well as multiple software wallets. So if one of those gets hacked or something happens, you don't lose everything. And just for DeFi, be careful. Whenever you see a new update or a version 2 of something, don't be the first person to FOMO in. Because if you do that, you may lose your crypto. And especially the unaudited ones. There was one protocol called YAM not too long ago, and there was a bug in the code. Luckily, nobody lost their funds, but that was the story of YAM. Now there's going to be a YAM version 2. Let's see how that goes. So if you want to use Ledger for DeFi, I would suggest using another one for also cold storage completely. And then let's talk about private keys. So whenever you have a software wallet or a hardware wallet, you have to store these private keys. And when you do this, by the way, these are not my private keys. I just saw this image somewhere online. You have to store these somewhere. So here are just some ideas for storage. So you can store them in a notebook physically, and maybe put a little bit of story around those words. So in that sense, no one else can understand it except you. So even if they get access to your notebook, they still have no idea what the story is about, and only you know what that is for. So that can be one way. Another way is to memorize these very well. I think this is a little bit hard for most people. You can write these on multiple pieces of paper and physically store these in multiple places. So if there's somebody who breaks into your house, they know that you have crypto and they know they are in a notebook, you can maybe put them on separate notebooks or separate pieces of paper and put them in maybe your cabin and maybe your house, maybe your parents' house, maybe like, I don't know, you can imagine any way to put this. Or if this is a crazy one, if you want to put them somewhere online, because I know there are some of you who are crazy who want to do this. I don't personally like to do this, but if you want to do them online, never ever store them like in a bulk like this in one single place, because that's just asking for trouble. And if a hacker or a person with malintent wants to access your crypto and they are easily accessible like this, that's the most easiest thing for them to gain. So maybe you want to have 4 different services, some cloud storage, maybe some local storage, or a combination of many things, and you just have to Frankenstein them together to make a recovery phrase. But basically, you never ever want to have these in like this format anywhere online or even in local storage, because that's the easiest way to get hacked. So be very careful when you use these private keys, because these are very important. And these are just some ideas. There are many other ideas, and if you have better ideas, let them people know down in the comments as well. And then let's talk about the strategy, and this one is a very simple one. The strategy for me is just to have multiple exchange accounts, multiple lending accounts, multiple wallets for DeFi, multiple wallets for staking, and for storing cryptos on software wallets, as well as have multiple hardware wallets. And if you have less than $1,000, then I would not get a hardware wallet. But if you have, let's say, more than $5,000 worth of crypto, then a hardware wallet starts to be reasonable. But mostly you can just use software wallets. And if you have multiple phones in the past, you know that a software wallet in a mobile phone that is not connected to the internet can act almost like a hardware wallet, because a wallet doesn't have to connect to the internet in order to work. But if you want to send the crypto out, then you will need to connect that phone into the internet. So keep that in mind as well, that's one way how you can use it if you have old phones. But then you also want to keep the private keys safe, so if something happens to that phone, that you don't lose it. So this is basically how you would do it, and the money is divided between all of these. You don't want to have a lot of money in only one single place, because if that gets hacked, then you will be very sad. But if one of your 3 places where you have DeFi systems gets hacked, then you still have 2 left, so you don't lose everything. So that's basically for everything that is about security. If you want to open any of these accounts or use any of these systems, you can use the links below, so both of us benefit. If you think this video is interesting, consider hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and if you have good ideas on how to improve your security or give some advanced ideas, put them down in the comment section, and we will be very, very happy. Alright, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you on the next video.